Hi. We're going to try something different here with this video, and it's basically what you might call a podcast, although I guess you can see us talking, so it is a video. I want to try something new, and so lately I have been recording conversations with my students. This first one is with Gladin, and it runs about 45 minutes. I think it's a pretty interesting video, and it's definitely an interesting conversation, and all of the conversations so far that we've recorded, at the very least, it's very evident that the people we're talking to are very intelligent and well-spoken. It should be noted, though, that English is not their first language in any of these cases. But in any respect, one thing I'm not going to do is put subtitles on this video because there's 45 minutes of talking. However, to give you the general gist, we are turning on the closed captions, the standard Google Translator, and so you can click that below. I hope you enjoy these conversations. Of course, please give me your opinions and your comments, and tell your friends, click like. Anyway, here is our first conversation with Evgeny Gladin. Okay. Hi. We're talking tonight with Evgeny Gladin, a journalist from Moscow, and I really hate to repeat this, and say this like two times. It seems really funny, but he is a consultant for local media, working in the Republic of Belarus, helping local newspapers modernize and adapt to being online and making their information available online as a means of making more money, right? Did I say that okay?
Yeah, right.
And this is your specialty.
Right.
Now, again, you do not have to be specific. I understand if you don't want to be sensitive, but we're talking right now about the necessity of survival of the newspaper game, of journalism, right?
Yeah. I think that for many original publisher, it's a very difficult choice to make a journalism or to try to save their money, their business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult business because all around the world against of you. Government try to close your business, your newspaper, and people don't want to pay for your newspaper, and advertisers. Yeah,
right.
They didn't want to pay your paper or your website to promote themselves. And one side you have to do your social project, help people make investigation, try to find something interesting, and every day tell people about what has happened. But another side, you have to think about money every time, and sometimes your first deal and your second deal can go together. I mean, one of them мешает.
Bothers?
bothers.
Disturbs, bothers. Yeah.
The second, yeah, because when you want to tell something interesting about corruption in government, for example, government can ask your advertisers to stop publish advertising in your newspaper.
Right.
And it's always difficult choice, and a lot of publishers who I know they chose second variant. I mean they want to make money,
right?
And they chose a model of media when media is just only for advertising.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Cats, chocolate, and naked girls.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. You know, but this begs a bigger question, because the first thing, your job specifically is moving people from print advertising online, or at least teaching them tricks how to maximize their online presence. You know, so to draw more advertising, bigger readership, make the paper more important. But at the same time, the internet is, of course, guilty of killing print journalism. People do not need to buy a newspaper to find out what's going on in the world.
Yeah, you're right. In Belarus, you still can sell 5 or maybe 6,000 copies in a week. But it's impossible in Russia, for example. Regional press there have died.
Right. And the actual readership are older people, pensioners, people who are pre-computer.
Yeah, and you have to create specific content for them, and this is a problem, because you have only 3, maybe 4 journalists as staff, and they can create 2 sort of content for different audience. I mean, for young people in web and for old people in the paper.
Right. And they have to be aware of that they're working for 2 different audiences, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I remember a time when Variog in Pinsk, okay? I've been here for 15 years, and, you know, so I'm saying even 5 or 6 years ago, you could put something on Variog, and it would be heard, it would be seen. My funniest example is I advertised for just a helper for around the house, you know, kind of sweep the floors, do the laundry, you know. And 267 women and 3 men called me on the phone. I mean, that is a genuine, real number. You know, trying to find a housekeeper out of 267 applicants is ridiculous, you know. But when I tried a similar advertisement, when I moved back to Pinsk a couple of months ago, I got 3 phone calls. And not to insult anybody, but I didn't pick any of them. You know, I don't want to say anything bad, but there was, So, I mean, it doesn't reach anybody anymore.
Yeah, maybe it's because people don't have money for learn English right now. Maybe
but I'm not even...
It's the second reason.
Well, I'm not even talking about learning English. I was like giving people money to help. This was a job offering. Yeah, what I'm talking about is when I said, okay, I have this, and it, honestly, it was not the highest paying job. It wasn't going to change anybody's life. It was a standard, actually it was a little higher than normal, but it was standard Belarusian fare for help twice a week, right? And the difference is 300 phone calls and 3 phone calls in the last 5 years. And to me, it just simply meant that this is how many people read and would be interested in such an ad. That's what I'm talking about. There was a time that if you wanted to do business in Pinsk, to sell something or buy something, or if you needed something, the Variog was the place to communicate with people. Everybody knew it. Yeah, everybody knew it. Everybody went there, and it was the marketplace for private anything. And now, I don't even think that singular marketplace exists. And people are not buying that paper in numbers. And there is no singular place in Pinsk to go for the same thing. So I don't know what that means, but if I were to take a guess, it has something to do with the unity of the town. You know what I mean? There was a common understanding. And now there is not. There's like one less thing that keeps Pinsk people together. So this is exactly along the lines of what you're talking about, yeah?
Yeah. This old publisher in Belarus region, they have been living like kings. I mean, they have a lot of money with this paper deal. And 10, maybe 7 years ago, they started losing their money because guys on internet start doing something.
Right.
And I know a lot of paper in Russia and several paper in Belarus who close the business because they couldn't work in internet and lost all their readers.
Right. Yeah. How many businesses are going away because of information technology and modernization and technology, robots, mechanization, right? The world is changing really fast. Business is changing,
Yeah. It's interesting how taxi business has changed last 2 years. I mean, 2 maybe 3 years ago, Uber came to Moscow and absolutely changed this market taxi because it was a wild market. I mean, you can catch a taxi on the street just to wave a hand. But today, all the people use app, приложение to get a taxi, and a lot of old taxists lose their job because they didn't confirm new rules. And it's modern world.
Yeah. I found a film today. I was just killing time on YouTube, and I saw a video that was made in 2002, which was about the time that I left New York. And, I was riding bicycles then, right? And I found this guy that I worked with. He worked in the same company as me. And somebody made a film about New York bike messengers. And his face, this guy, his name is Mike D. I have no idea where he is today. And all I remember is he was one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life. He just had the greatest stories. And somebody else also thought he was interesting and put him in this film. Now, that business, and at the time, I have to tell you, I was so in love with that business. It was the greatest job I've ever had in my life, because it was just so much fun. It was just pure life. It was just exciting and dangerous and in your face and fast and, riding through New York traffic every day, to make a buck. And I was not terrible at it. I was pretty good at it. I was a good professional. And it's gone. That doesn't exist anymore because the necessity of taking information across town is no longer in physical form. Everything that we did in the company that I worked for, probably 30% of our business was taking books from one modeling agency to some department store, and then from the department store back to the model agency. And they used to pay $10 a move, so it was $20 for them to introduce a model who this department store might wish to use in their advertising. And so we had Click Models, I think it was, and then they would go to Bloomingdale's or Macy's or any of the big chain stores. And the books were big books of photographs, right? That's dead. That's gone. Of course it's gone. Because it's a click of a button now. And that information goes, all of the letters, all of everything that we did. And so there is no particular need, or at least the need is maybe 5% of what it was, to physically move information. So, okay, but that's one job. Then we have journalism. But I talk about this too. What about teaching English? On the one hand, moving from people coming to my house and drinking tea with me to doing lessons online was an amazing plus, right? But now it's not just how much money you have. Look at my competition. Look at how much free crap is available on the internet. Look at how many guys talking in English you can listen to. Now, please, it's not the same thing. You don't learn to talk passively, la 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 la, listen to me talk, right? But people will feel very comfortable studying by themselves, and they feel like they're learning something, and so they feel okay. And so even my profession, why should people call me if they can watch English language films, use Google Translator? We're all going to hell, right?
Yeah.
This is not a happy thought.
Yeah. And we don't know how blockchain will change the world, because this technology kill notarius, for example. A lot of officials who make deals with newspapers.
Right.
It's really interesting.
If you add in mechanization, what you find is that the labor force, like for example, traditionally speaking, and I'm talking about maybe the last, let's say Industrial Revolution, the last 150 years, except for the last 20 years, there was a class of people who could go to university and get intellectual specialties. I'm talking about architects, engineers, doctors, lawyers, and such. And then there was a larger class of people who could not handle academic careers, and nevertheless they needed to make a living. So the service industries or the repair industries or builders, plumbers, architects, not architects, electricians. And there were jobs. You know, you could go to the factory and sew shirts, or you can go to the factory and cut wood. You know, I'm thinking of like the major Pinsk industries that we have right here. You know, you could do food processing, and it was very labor intensive, right? But now, you know, one of the rich guys in town, a friend of mine, you know, I talked to him, and he's like, first of all, I make a profit, and that means as much robot technology, as much automation as you can. I would rather spend money on this machine to do 90% of the work than hire my alcoholics and give them a job. And that's what he says, that's what he means. You know he's right. Except for one thing. How many guys don't get a job now? How many people can't feed their families? Right? And I think this, even in Belarus, where people make, you know, $200. $200, that's the wage these days. Even $200 jobs don't exist because people are replaced for less money.
Yeah, you know, my journalists have $200 in a month.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do with it because I don't know. And the question is who should to do something with it. I mean, government. Who can help them? These people, because there will be a lot of people each year.
Yeah, more and more people. Yeah, the technology advances. You learn something more. Somebody invents some new system. The owner of the company, he has access to all the information. He's got all of the bankers in his pocket. You know, doesn't mean a damn thing for him. But the guys who've got to, you know, load the truck, you get a loader, you know, you get one guy on a crane, you buy that machine in 3 years, that machine costs less than all the salaries for 3 years of those people. So, and he takes a credit. So here's one loader, and now there are 5 guys. Here's $1,000 a month he doesn't have to pay. The loader was $60,000. Do the math. You know, sorry, you guys are gone because that loader will be here for 10 years and it's cheaper than you guys. And you don't argue, you don't give me crap, and I don't have to worry about, you know, giving you papers to treat your alcoholism. And he's happy. So what?
Yeah.
So what? I mean, honestly, let me ask you a question. Do you know anything about Jacques Fresco?
Yeah, I think we talked about him.
Yeah, a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
I
haven't read.
Haven't got into it.
Book.
Yeah, he is. You know, I guess the only thing that I really want. He's a designer, and you know, a great thinker. But he's also what you might call a utopianist. And you know, he starts thinking about how to handle problems like what to do with civilization, or what to do with a civilization that is not particularly needed to be slave labor? I don't want to say that too ugly, but that's really what it amounts to, you know? Just the actual service industries, the lower class workers, the lower paid workers, the people who do the physical labor. As the world becomes more and more computerized, more and more automated, these people don't have a job. So what do we do with this world? And so, you know, he advocates a leisure-based economy. You know, you don't have to work, so, you know, go play hockey. You know, go be an artist, you know, go play sports. You know, join a club. Just don't work 40 hours a week, right?
I'm sorry, just a second. I'm sorry. I'm here.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so my only question is, do you think that this is a reasonable possibility of the world?
If government pay me $1,000 a month just for play hockey, it's not a problem. It's
Okay.
a good life.
What about in Finland right now? It's €660 a month. They are experimenting with basic wage.
Not bad.
Well, I mean, you know, but you would not think this was lovely if it was Belarus and you got your $200 a month just for breathing.
Yeah, I think that 5 Belarus are able to live in Finland
Yeah.
for one time. So,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe this is kind of a segue to our next subject, but on my way there, so really, the guy who is, you know, the guy who's running the bike shop that I go to right now. I don't know. I had a conversation with him about how much money he makes to work at this bike shop. And he studies, and he's looking to be a physical education teacher. He's a good guy. He's a really nice guy. Count him as a friend. And he lives with it at home. But his food budget, I asked him how much his food budget was. And he tells me he basically eats $50 a month.
yeah. $50 a month.
$50 a month.
Um,
Could you do $1.50 a day?
No, I don't know. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And you know, the folks working for you for the amount of money that your journalists are making, because they have at least part of a house payment. Public transportation, they might have to buy clothes now and again. And Christmas is coming.
yeah.
That's you know, potatoes and kasha, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, every last 3 days before salary, I see my journalist, and I know that they eat dosherak, this pasta, yeah,
Right.
in a packet.
Right.
Because they have no money to eat something in a cafe.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. I mean, I am dieting right now, and you know, but I don't think I'm dieting enough to cover $50 a month. I don't think I could do that. I don't have to do that. I mean, my budget is a little bit bigger than that, and I don't eat expensively. I cook my own food mostly, you know. And I can afford to go to the coffee shop now and again. But there are a lot of people that when I say, yeah, I went to the coffee shop, they look at me like I'm crazy. You would give them 3 rubles for a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never go to coffee shop with my colleague because I don't want to show them that I can buy coffee. Just to, you know, and every time when I get a taxi, I'm afraid that someone look me when I go to office.
Right.
You know, it's.
Yeah. Okay. Well. There you go. So wait a minute. So I want to bring up a subject, and I want to talk a bit about prostitution in Belarus, but I want to tell you why I want to talk about this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that a girl from Pinsk, who is a friend of my ex-girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
Was advertising on a website where, generally speaking, girls meet with guys for money.
Mm-hmm.
And this really upset me. But the thing that upsets me about this is that I have a 12-year-old daughter.
Mm.
Now,
I understand.
Right. Now, here's the thing. When my teaching had mostly teenagers, this was several years ago, people would come, I had many teenagers come to my house, and at the time, because they were growing up in Pinsk, the common thought was that romance and love were bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And this was universally known. If you tried to put literature about a love story or if we got into conversations about relationships and romance, these teenage girls, they didn't just think, but they knew that love and romance were bullshit. Relying on a man or looking for love or trying to find the love of your life in a man was a complete and utter waste of time. And if you talk to the boys, they would tell you, girls are just bitches. You can't count on them even a little bit. Okay, so here is this thing. This girl, and she's a pretty girl. That's not my deal, but this girl is just going to school. She just started going to school. And the first thing she does, the very first thing she does, is sell herself. Not another idea in her mind, okay? Not let's make some friends, not let's pick our career, not let's study. The first thing that comes to her mind is, this is my chance to make some money. I have no other way to make any money. This is normal. It's probably not even a difficult decision. And
you mean there are a lot of such a women in Belarus?
Well, yes, there are a lot of such women in Belarus. We understand that. But I think it also has something to do with the same internet conversation we're having. The availability of, first of all, I could say porn, but even above that, the opportunity to meet people online without having to physically meet them. Just the volume of people who might find you. It completely eliminates the idea that you meet one special person. You're automatically plural. And not even like to your group that you grow up with, but to all over the world, anybody, anywhere, and literally hundreds. And I think that this is becoming standard.
Yeah, you're right, but I think that this situation exists many years. When I was a student in the university, I have a friend, his name was Anton, and his parents were very poor people, and he never have money. And one day he went to university with new MacBook. Very expensive computer for this time. And after that, he showed me new iPod player. And I asked them where he got it. And he told me that he worked as a model on sex video, show his body to, as usual, old guys from United States or Europe, and he got, I don't remember how much exactly he got, maybe $1 in 10 minutes or something like that. And in 2 years later, he went to St. Petersburg, and St. Petersburg was the capital of sex video in Russia, because there were a lot of offices where producers created porn, Russian porn, and this sex studio. It was a good way to get normal money for your life. They spent nights in the studio and sleep in a day.
Sounds like teaching English, but but okay. But here's my side of this. Okay, so I am a father of a 12-year-old girl. And one of my base philosophies of life is don't sell something that you can't get back, and pick a job that you love, okay? This is the number one thing. Now, I what I want to say is I do get students sometimes who don't want to learn the grammar at all. They're looking for some conversation surrogate. And I actually do get bored women who have rich husbands. And it's bullshit. They don't want to learn any English, they just want attention paid to them. And you don't always know this. I don't do these. I stop these lessons. You understand? Because I am an English teacher. I want to teach people to speak English. You know, I want to practice my trade. And to get used by someone for some other purpose other than my actual legitimate, like, help you speak English so it improves your life, I feel like I feel like basically a prostitute. The same basic thing, you know, just, and I don't do it. I don't want to do it because it diminishes my life. And the money that I get for this does not justify how sick I personally feel. I don't like wasting my time. You understand me?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so here's the thing. You know, my daughter is attractive. But Jesus Christ, I would rather her not be in any sort of position where she does something that changes her relationship to humanity. That the act of love or sex or intimacy becomes a commodity. Because once it is for sale, I'll bet you it's an awful lot like my legs when I was riding bicycles. Up until I started riding Messenger, I would ride for pleasure all the time. But then when I started working, I stopped riding for pleasure. You understand me? My legs were tired. It was not fun. All of the life-affirming, the joy of bicycling went away, and it has to be exactly what the hell prostitution is for love and sex. It doesn't occur to you, and you become this different person. And all that's going to happen is there's not going to be even the possibility of love in your life, the possibility of that intimate friendship, And I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen to her. I also don't want her to work a job just for money. I don't want her to do something because it pays money. I'd like her to do a job that she loves. For the same reason, I would like her to have love in her life so that she can enjoy it, right?
Yeah, you're right. I think it's difficult to be a father of girl today. Sometimes I see new clip on YouTube. It's a Russian rap star. You can see them on TV because it's a lot of matne, marijuana in each shot. Yeah, but and I know how many young people have attention to them. They watch them because it's really interesting. And their philosophy is just fuck, get your money and smoke something.
It is the popular mindset.
And they are really nihilists.
Right.
They have no rules. And they didn't care when they die. A month ago, I read a article about American rap star Lee Hoop or something like that. He was very popular in the United States and even in Russia. And he got heroin with something on a party and died soon. And he in his interview he told many times that he didn't care when he will die.
Right.
Because it doesn't bother. I want to get satisfaction right now, and it's all what I want.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the world is changing really, really, really fast. The world is changing really, really, really fast, and I think adapting to the future is definitely your job in your specialty. It's kind of my job, or at least, maybe helping people to interact with the world, maybe. But when you actually participate in this, I I don't know. It's very hard to be optimistic about the future because the harder you look at it, the faster the walls seem to be closing in. You know, we're losing space very quickly.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I think about starost, old.
Getting old.
Getting old. I mean, 5 years ago, I knew enough about what happened in the world. I mean, I knew about stars, about what young people want to listen and what they speaking about. And I noticed that right now I knew very few, even about my people who old like me, and I don't know. I know nothing about what my son watching YouTube. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't understand this, and sometimes we argue about it. Why are you looking at it? It's bullshit. Why? And he tried to explain me that it's interesting for him.
Of course.
And and it's difficult. I don't know who is right, me or.
Well,
you can say you're just old as you don't understand.
Well, you know, yeah. No, I mean it's true. I looked at the so I am friends with my daughter on Contact on VContact, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at her page, you can see her favorite pages, you know, her noteworthy pages and the communities. And so I subscribe to some of her communities to find out what she's looking at. You know, the favorite joke among young people is what your girl will do for an iPhone. This joke has 2,000 variants, you know, but you know if this for an iPhone, that's the and whatever they're depicting in the pictures. And I saw that this humor played out like every single day on all of these pages, that if she goes on VK, we'll just scroll down in front of her 12-year-old eyes. And this is her life's education. This is the truth to her. Mm-hmm. And why in the hell would she ever listen to me? And this friend of my ex-girlfriend, why on earth, you know, why would she ever listen to me say, hey, don't do this? Because what she's going to say is, give me the money.
Shut up.
I don't even know I don't know what you're talking about. What you're talking about doesn't exist in my consciousness, you know. And you know, this is the newspaper man you were talking about at the beginning.
Sorry?
Well, you were talking about newspaper publishers at the very beginning of our conversation. And you were saying that modern newspaper publishers don't really care about journalistic ethics or good journalism. Just give me the money, right?
Yeah.
But you personally love your job.
Yeah, I love my job.
I personally love my job. Yeah. No, go ahead. No.
Yeah, I work with young journalists who also love journalism, and yeah, they get only $200 in a month, but anyway, they do their job and they like it because it's interesting for them. Maybe in 10 years they will start to love money more than journalism.
Maybe.
But today they are good.
I was in the coffee shop today, and I was talking to a young girl, very smart young girl, and I don't usually do this, but I was 2 hours hanging out in the coffee shop today. I had a meeting there, a business meeting, and then I had free time, and I just stayed there, hung out, drank some coffee, talked to people. And she brought up that I had this free time to hang around in coffee shops during the work day, you know, that I don't have a job. And I said, no, I have a job, but I just have no lessons right now, and I have free time. But she started telling me about things that I could do with my time, and she asked me an interesting question. She asked me if I read books.
Mm-hmm.
And the funniest thing came to my mind. I do read, and I have written literature, you know. I mean, theoretically, the brunt of my adult life had something to do with literature in some way, you know. Even teaching English is really about teaching people to communicate written and spoken. But it occurred to me that people don't read books anymore. The idea of a 400-page book being digested is really old school, isn't it?
Yeah, she's right. Yeah, people. There are a lot of things in a web you can do. Waste your time on Facebook or somewhere.
Right.
It's not interesting anymore.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What's your opinion? Good conversation, bad conversation?
Yeah, I think it was good.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this as well. I'm not looking forward to the transcription though. Okay, hold on. Don't go away. But just in terms of like talking to, if you like this podcast, please let me know. Subscribe and tell your friends. I'd like to thank Evgeny Gladin for sitting in. I hope we do this again. And anyway, thanks for listening to us.
Bye.